One of the matters that I say is the maximum brave element you could do, especially bravery, is the personal lifestyles that I genuinely preserve to myself. You realize I've spoke lots about it nowadays, which I've by no means spoken approximately earlier than music Aunt Middleton, and is an adventurer, a Navy vet, a TV host and writer, an entrepreneur, and one. It has become rather particularly reputable as an expert whilst it comes to such things as survival and persistence and management techniques, and because of his reports as an elite special force member, he can talk about these matters in a way that no person else can, and has very currently been on the center of a big media hurricane where he became quote unquote canceled together with his biggest display nowadays, SAS Judea's wins, being axed by means of Channel 4 after 5 years, and the broadcaster came out and said that N's perspectives and values weren't aligned to theirs. This is his first in intensity verbal exchange, that he is recorded in view that he become quote-unquote canceled. I have watched infinite amounts of interviews that Aunt Middleton has executed. However, the side of Aunt that you are going to hear nowadays is one that even he admits himself that he has in no way absolutely shared earlier than I'm going to mention it. This podcast lifted a ton of weight off my shoulders and spoke back perhaps the maximum important query about existence that we all have to ask ourselves if we're going to be happy and if we are going to be successful and if we are going to be free. And thank you for your honesty. Without further ado, I am Stephen Bartlett, and that is the dire of a CEO. I'm hoping nobody's listening. However, in case you are, then please maintain this to yourself. And whilst I used to be analyzing your ebook first, Guy, and there may be this quote at the cease of one in all the chapters, and it became a great area to start this communication today, due to the fact I generally tend to assume that it's likely one of the extra foundational pieces of information. Well, it'd lead to one of the maximum foundational piece of information to explain who you have become in your lifestyles and what you have on to achieve. And this is what you wrote on the cease of the chapter. It says it's referred to as making pals together with your demons, having darkish forces residing inside us is part of being human. They may be the end result of inevitable harm of life. Everyone, people has a choice, make those demons work for us or turn them loose in opposition to us. And slightly linked to that, in the identical on the same page, you wrote maximum of most of us have horror memories we can inform you about from our childhoods. It's no longer the horror that defines you, it is how nicely you fought it. What did that mean? I assume that is just a well-known message to everybody to mention that it's okay to have you ever understand terrible mind. It's K to have those demons internal you. They exist in everybody, but the essential message is to exercising them, because the instant you lock them away, the instant you lock those mind away, the instant you lock those demons away, the moment you lock any negativity away, all it's going to do is take over like a mildew, and it's going to completely engulf you, and it's going to govern you as in character. And it's only because I've been there and I've completed it, whether that is what I have executed in fight, losing my father at a young age, I'm losing my mom, I'm seeing bodies blown up around me, seeing dead human beings around me, seeing the impact it has on households, seeing what my choice pulling that because or no longer has on a certain man or woman, or has on a certain own family, or has on a sure state of affairs. And it's ultimately being K with who you are. It truly is everything approximately it's being acknowledging that concentrate, we are not perfect, we are human. Okay, we have weaknesses, we have insecurities, we've those horrendous mind every so often. Now you would be a liar to mention you don't take a seat there on occasion, and you realize the things that undergo your head, if you absolutely voice them, then that turns into a trouble. It is you not exercise your demons, this is them exercise you. And it's pretty much acknowledging that, and that I well known that from this kind of younger age. I recounted that from a young age when my father handed away, and I could not without a doubt understand what become occurring. Are you able to inform me about that? Yeah, my father exceeded away whilst I used to be 5 years old, and within some months a new man came into our existence, my stepfather, and then inside years we moved to France. So we lived in Portsmouth. We regularly moved absolutely to France, a new situation, a new surroundings, a new guy in our life. And I'm able to just recollect wondering, I recollect going into a bush inside the fields in which we lived in France. After a couple of months we were there, and that I sat on this bush, and the value of the situation turned into so overwhelming. I can just keep in mind looking at the road and wondering to myself, what am I doing here? Why am I here? What's the cause? I couldn't hold close anything at that young age, and it turned into, in the course of that second after I allow the entirety go and I can just don't forget thinking to myself, don't try and recognize what is happening. Do not, I'm simply trying to recognize who this guy is and where he's come from. Do not attempt to understand why you're in a different school. Speak me a specific language due to the fact you cannot. Don't try and recognize all of unexpected. You're residing in caravans. We moved. We have been residing in more than one caravans. We had been a large, massive owned family from homes, and I can just bear in mind losing the whole lot and questioning to myself, understand what you may apprehend, and that at that young age, what I could recognize turned into what I used to be. Feeling you realize I ought to understand myself. So once I look returned on the loss of life of my father, and as I flipped the entirety right into a high quality, even though years and years and years down the line I would finish this, you recognize the dying of my father in reality made me self-mirror from the age of 6 or 7. So I've been self-reflecting. You realize information, my feelings, understanding how I experience information, my demons information. You realize the coolest components of me, the bad parts to me, the susceptible components of me, the robust parts of me, the superb side of me, the bad facet of me, and I have been certainly breaking it down from this sort of younger age, and it has given me a bonus in lifestyles I usually accept as true, with that this has given me my sort of bulletproof attitude on a way to tackle all and sundry or any situation these days. So even though it's a disturbing a part of my existence and it affected me all the way up to my mid-20s in a horrific way where I might go out and strive and apprehend who my father was trying to apprehend, you realize I in no way went to his funeral. I never went to his grave. Now my parents, my dad and mom, my stepdad, due to the fact he came in my life so younger, I known as him, my dad, they never advised me in which he'd become buried. He turned into just absolutely cut out of our existence, due to the situation beforehand, for him to return into our lives multiple months after it changed into quite apparent that my mom became glaringly having an affair, or there may be something going on. And once more, I am not judging everybody or the state of affairs, however you understand. So whilst he came into our lifestyles, it was like, right, you name him dad, my call changed from Aaron to Middleton. Now, not a variety of human beings understand that really, and this whole new existence becomes simply compelled upon me, pressured upon me. So I used to be both pressured to behave or pressure not to act. You recognize sitting in that bush, me forcing now not to behave, changed into likely jumping in the street. You realize questioning like, listen, sufficient is sufficient. Did that go your mind? It changed into a huge street. It turned into a huge street, and it in no way got to that level in which I idea, right, I am going to take my existence. However, it turned into like, you realize this, there may be an easy choice out of here, which I imply it's like there may be a smooth option out of here, but it in no way crossed my thoughts to do it. But I will just remember taking into consideration that road, thinking the automobiles move fast there. I suggest if you desire to, it's extra, like if you wanted to. So it crosses your thoughts. It crosses your mind. However, it would not sign up. If that makes sense. In its simplest, you understand for the duration of these few years while you begin to mirror returned on who you are and what you've been through, you start to cross bloody hell. And clearly, maybe I used to be questioning like that at a young age. So however, then again, you know who am I. You recognize I'm sincere with myself. I'm honest with my demons. I am sincere with who I'm. And ultimately, I am honest with understanding that we are no longer ideal. Quite a few people, and you have described it there, they in no way admit their demons to themselves, and what ends up occurring is those demons run the display, but from the, again, room surely, and you recognize, I wager you notice that loads with people which have come again from battle as well, because they don't get the aid they want. However, I see it throughout warfare. I see human beings, degree-headed, intelligent soldiers lose their head on the battlefield, come running past you doing matters that you suppose, wow, where the hell did that come from? You inspect their eyes, and there may be a nothing there, and then increase, they turn out, and you're like, do you realize what you just finished? Like, such as you are aware of it, you realize the one's demons are as sturdy, they maybe there. How do you cope with them? You need to exercise them, and the way I exercise my demons is by getting like-minded, comparable human beings in the identical room in a secure environment, and I would drink myself into oblivion until 3-4 in the morning, chatting about what we have accomplished, chatting approximately vintage times, chatting approximately who we are, and then Growth I am performed for 6 months. I have released the one's demons whilst you intoxicate yourself with alcohol. You already know it lets in you to speak, and I am no longer saying go out there and do this. However, it really is simply my way of coming from ingesting tradition, i.e. the army, a consuming and a fighting tradition. This is the manner that we deal with matters, and for now it is probably a blowout in which you realize I go out and I'll have a nice meal, and you realize we'll have some glasses of wine, we're going to be in a private room, and we shoot the air. And you realize simply speak approximately anything we need to speak, approximately anything's for your thoughts, but also physically I exercise my demons bodily. I position myself in horrendous situations in order to combat in opposition to myself. Everest is a top example of what's going to say, you already know I failed to should go up for the duration of the storms. If I used to be the ordinary practical character, I could have went up after that typhoon went. So simply for context, you decided to climb Mount Everest with a buddy of yours at probably the worst viable time, and to procure into a little bit of a predicament up there. Yeah, precisely that. Yeah, to mention the least. Yeah, however, it's one of those in which I failed to simply want to walk up on a nice sunny day, you already know, and then gain nothing from that experience. Why even though, why are you voluntarily putting yourself through chaos and what anybody else could understand to be soreness? Why are you selecting that this is me, work out my demons? Simply this is me, you understand, pushing myself to that restrict. It's me having tasted that drug of residing on that line of existence and loss of life, and a number of people assume that tablets, adrenaline, however, it is now not. I do not sense pumped. I don't experience, I feel remaining peace. So human beings discover this bizarre, but while I walk that line of lifestyles and demise, which I've performed a couple of times, it's a pure feeling of euphoria. It is not what you observed, in which you feel pumped and your eyes are crimson and you have got this aggression going through you and you have to get through this second. It is like existence is so straightforward, Steve, so straightforward. You are both going to live or you are going to die. All of the headaches of life that is applied on you, whether or not it is via authorities, whether this is via paintings, whether it really is authentic family, all of that goes, and you are left with the maximum purest shape of life. And it's so straightforward that it is so euphoric, it is so peaceful. And whilst you pay attention of international warfare, one and world battle, two poets which can be writing poems in trenches, people are like, how the hell are they writing poems in trenches? I remember that feeling due to the fact lifestyles is so straightforward, it is so natural, it's so non-violent that they're writing and not using a stresses, no complications, no. It is coming from the purest form of existence of I'm both going to live or I'm going to die. And it is that feeling that I chase that feeling properly, to want that moment of peace, natural and utter peace for 10-15 minutes, that drug I chase. And that's crossing those boundaries, crossing those strains, crossing any obstacles to the threshold of existence. You take that step. You're long gone, you go over that edge, you understand you are going to experience it, you are going to experience alive, you are going to feel everything which you need out of lifestyles. However, for me, this is exercise my demons. So whether or not I do it psychologically, in which I'm placing myself in conditions that I'm pronouncing stuff that I consider, in that I cost that as a message and it is being contradicted, or whether I'm pushing myself to a physical restrict or setting myself in a physical scenario which is uncomprehendable to the regular person. However, it's because I've tasted it. I have had the misfortune, I have had the burden of tasting that drug, and could it's the cease of me. I cannot say that for positive. I cannot say that it might not. I cannot say that, I have in no way placed myself in these situations once more, due to the fact I locate myself continuously doing it. But for me, this is exercise my demons. And all and sundry demons are exceptional. All people's scenario is special. Anybody's feelings are distinctive. All and sundry's DNA is one faken. However, this is me exercising my demons. Short one, starting from the minute the lockdown is lifted, we're going to start bringing in a number of our subscribers to watch how this podcast is produced behind the curtain way. You get to satisfy the guests, meet myself, and see how we placed all of this collectively, in case you want that to be you all. We're given to do hit the subscribe button. What are the alternative, if any, moments out of your early years that went into shaping the man you have became there something else due to the fact I listen you in your books, and for your writing and your interviews maintain to quote that form of trauma along with your father and your stepfather, then coming in and then being the manner that he changed into, but there become changed into their anything up main till you recognize your 1920s that you cite as being pivotal and who you have become. Yeah, after I joined the British Army, I joined the military at the age of 16. I am simply going on to 17, and I got here from a background of French way of life. You realize I might exit and drink espresso while I was 14, play bowling whilst I used to be 15, and all of a sudden I am getting thrown right into a male-dominant employer, the subculture ingesting, fighting you fit, and otherwise you off. It's as easy as that. So what do you attempt to suit in, however, whilst you try to position a spherical peg right into a square hollow, you will get stuck, and you either live caught okay, and also you go around captivating everybody else, otherwise you pull yourself out of that scenario, and that is, in the end, what I have achieved with the Navy. I spent 4 years inside the military, then left because of that state of affairs. It wasn't me, I wasn't this competitive younger lad that liked drinking. I'd in no way used to drink. I used to be continually well-mannered, continually respectful. I'd stroll past someone, I'd tip my hat. You recognize in France, you said bonjour, and you recognize you simply have a little chat. You try this in England while I was 16, 17, on foot past someone nodding, and they are like, are you looking at? No, it used to surprise me, and I used to suppose I am handiest announcing, hello mate, what you realize, and that became a pivotal for years in my lifestyles in which I concept to myself, am I able to shape into this United Kingdom tradition, or I can pull myself out of it. And for the primary 4 years I discovered myself becoming in, and I found myself being properly at ingesting. I found myself being desirable at combating. I found myself being desirable at being, because that's what I needed to be to match. And so again, those had been demons that I found alongside the manner that I located, that I used to be desirable at. So might I let everyone take the piss out of me anymore? You wager no, because you're going to get good hiding. You already know. Might I exit and then drink and suit in? Yeah, of course I would. You recognize what's up. One of the lads I want to match, and I imply I'm thus far indifferent from all of that. However, if I am this young, polite, respectful, kind of multicultural individual, then it is going to be more of a difficulty moving ahead in what I want to do mainly in the Navy. Then it is an advantage, so that you discover yourself turning into this person. I can simply bear in mind I was about 21 and I went to Macedonia, and I labored with the French Overseas Legion available due to the fact I communicate fluent French, and I labored with the French Friend Legion a chunk, and that I noticed how they're very, very mature, very type of going return to that French way of life. You understand, they're all circle of relatives oriented. Very, I notion to myself, wow, that is who I am. And after I got backtracked that tour, I can just consider going to the squadron bar. I used to be in 9 parachute squadron wall engineers, going to the squadron bar. We've got just finished a 6-month tour. I'm going to the squadron bar, and that I don't forget walking in there, and I recollect seeing someone, a body of workers sergeant, possibly about 35, 36. You realize I'm a younger 2021 year vintage, ingesting from a boot for an old baron, region boot right, and he is ingesting piss, being consuming piss from my boot, and I'm able to simply recall looking at him, wondering if I preserve the way that I am going, it truly is going to be me in 15 years' time. And it scared the hell out of me. I can consider simply wondering I were given to get the hell out of here. I walked out of that bar, and the following day I put my notice, and I became like that. This is not who I am. This isn't always. You already know I have 1 extra demons from this 4 years than I have any pals, any benefits from it, and that changed into a pivotal factor that became a pivotal factor in my life, wherein I idea to myself, wow, you realize I'm able to both pass. I will have a alternate in this sort of manner and simply be caught in this square hole, or I can pull myself out, rebuild at the foundations that I have of understanding that I am a terrific person, and also you. And from there you handed in your notice, and what happened next? From there I passed in my note, and then I left, and I found that in Civvy Street I used to be appearing the person who I by no means wanted to be in the military, right? But I'd found that had followed me, that had taken charge of me, provide me, be specific, those demons that had type of identified themselves inside that 4 years were strolling the display. So when I were given out, I joined the Metropolitan Police, and I was appearing like a right squad die right now, going out drinking every night, you understand, cheating on my exams, drink, riding, you understand, I were given all of the manner via education. Multiple weeks in the past, multiple weeks to move, passed all the tests I were given, caught drink using boom, kicked out the met, out the education, in Hendon, and however it failed to hassle me. I was like, yeah, you recognized as soon as a soldier, constantly a soldier, and I used to be dwelling within the beyond and being someone who absolutely wasn't me, but who had control of me, after which getting into the street lifestyles, you recognize I were given into the street life wherein you recognize preventing now not gangs, now not games, but that social circle in which you ought to uphold a popularity wherein you, and the only element that you know nicely, I will say the only issue, but the aspect I changed into top at that geared up me is that was an amazing scrapper. I knew I recognized how to scrap, I recognized how to drink, and the way to combat however you find yourself. Reverting, return to the man or woman who you by no means desired to be. And I assumed that become the protection mechanism. I knew that worked inside the United Kingdom. I'd by no means tried and examined whatever else as quickly as I got here over to the United Kingdom, directly into the army once more. Now I spent 10-12 years in France. Earlier than that, then increased immediately over into the British lifestyle, and I concept that it's how you acted. I in no way knew what Silly Street become approximately due to the fact I by no means I used to be by no means in it, so it took me an amazing couple of years once more to realize what saved you, what pulled you out of the process. There's 1 second that saved me. I refused to join up. I refused to take any assist from the authorities, identical and I can bear in mind my auntie. I used to be residing with my auntie at the time, and you already no, you've got no money, what are you going to do? I stated properly, I'm going to move all the way down to the process middle. Why might not you just sign up? You already know till you discover a job. I am like, no, that was proud. I used to be like, no, I have never taken a penny off the government. I notion now. I'm going to go to the job middle. I take into account taking walks into the task center, taking walks up the steps, strolling into the process middle, and that I had my crimson ebook and the purple ebook. While you go away, the military, it's got all of your qualifications, Navy qualifications, all of your credentials, and I walked into the task middle, and the man glaringly diagnosed the books that they had possibly have loads of people going there a year, and he stated, oh mate, you are ex-army on yourself. Yeah, he said, come to the desk. He sat down with me and he opened up my book and he started out reading my e-book, and he looked up at me and he stated, why did you go away the Navy? And before I could solution, I used to be going to say something lower back, and he stated I have loads of those encounter my desk, and that they stated this is one of the quality reports I've ever read. He stated, so my recommendation to you is, he slammed the ebook shot, he went move again into that space, and I do not forget just sitting there. I was 22, sitting down and wondering, Mike, okay, he's going to provide me an activity now, and he simply surpassed me the ebook and known as over the subsequent man or woman, and I was similar to I am picking up a chunk to myself, guys, you recognize, but manifestly there's all army qualifications. There is nothing for me out there apart from to empty boxes or something it is able to be, and that I take into account taking the ebook. And as I walked down the steps of the process middle, I sat down halfway down on the stairs, and I had a educate price tag in my pocket and probably approximately more than one quid unfastened change. It really is, that was my lifestyles. This turned into at the age of 22, 23 perhaps, and I'm able to just take into account questioning to myself, right, why the hell are you sat skin, not anything to your existence other than what you, the garments that you are wearing, and what is to your wallet jobless, after which a moment of readability just hit me. It is nearly as though I had an out of frame revel in, and I used to be looking lower back on the boys sitting at the step, and I simply remember questioning to myself proper, I'll tell you why it is, because you are pretending to be a person else. You are mendacity to yourself, therefore you're living a lie. You already know, you observed you're better than every person else. You understand you have got this popularity that you need to uphold. That is now not you. You are just a shadow of who you surely are. You are no longer. You realize who the hell do you assume you are, because the person that I'm looking at, nearly looking inside the mirror, the individual that I am searching at, is exactly wherein you ought to be sat on a step jobless with not anything, because this isn't you. And if you want to stay in the shadow, in case you want to live stuck in that hole, in that square hollow, then keep mendacity to yourself and maintain residing a lie. In that moment, I'll usually go return to That second, every time I am getting a piece above myself or a bit too large for my boots, I always go back to that moment where I ripped myself aside because it freed me as in character, and I promise you this, and it is now not cliche, this isn't a few sort of a tale that I am telling you, it freed me as in character because I will remember, do not forget standing up on them. Steps feeling like a new man due to the fact I just diagnosed who I used to be. This isn't always you get that out your life, get out of your existence, get that from your life. Be you, and that I had the one's foundations to fall lower back on because I knew who I used to be. In the end, however, it changed into located and yet ego blanketed with a lot of protected with so much complications that I would carried out on myself, and after I were given rid of all of it, I was similar to that. You realize what I used to be precise on the army. I've got nice recruit, great point. While I used to be inside the army, you already know what I'm gonna do. I love that lifestyle, but it's just round the incorrect people. I used to be in the incorrect regiment. You realize I'm gonna rejoin the military, but I am going to be a team player. I am going to be myself. I am going to be this respectful, gentleman, hard employee that I understand that I am, which I imply I am no longer going to go out boozing. I'm not going to go out preventing. I'm now not going to try and suit in. If they do not accept me for who I'm, then so be it. The Army manifestly isn't always for me. I joined the Royal Marines. I went straight down the careers workplace, directly down the careers workplace, and joined the Royal Marines. And within a couple of months, because of my preceding military history, I got him very brief, and within a couple of months, I found myself going via Royal Marine education. And when I passed out of warfare Marine training, I were given offered with great recruit, that's the King's badge, and I will simply don't forget wondering to myself proper, and you've got been here earlier than you have got high quality recruit, fine point you rested. In your laurels went to your unit did not truly healthy, and you are inside the identical function now you can either use this as a fine and push forward and you already know cross directly to attain remarkable things, or you may try to fit in boost fight, be a camp hero, you realize a pub soldier, and simply be lower, back to rectangular one wherein you changed into 5, 6, 7 years ago. There may be something, and that I want to carry on from that story, but just going back to that, I located excellent charming, which you're sat on the one's stairs, and at a second when your ego sort of dissolves due to the situations you discover yourself in, you are certainly in a position then to go and pursue your genuine self. And that I discover, you already know, I had a person sat on this chair previously, and he is the biggest investor within the global in psychedelics, and one of the matters that he talks approximately with psychedelics is it what it does is it strips lower back your ego, the identity you've got been dwelling to please society, and what is left is like who you virtually are. And it's so funny that so most of the guests I talk to and some of the psychologists I've spoken to communicate about that allows you to like find your happiness and pursue your true self. You need to get rid of that. And what I was listening to whilst you were announcing this is you recognize you'd create this reputation and identity for yourself, which in reality was leading you off beam. However, it became assisting you survive in the one circle, certainly in this hard choice to say, do you know I'm going to interrupt out that circle, go away that identification at the back of, throw myself into an uncertain moment and go in pursuit of like who I actually am. And everybody faces that in their life. You recognize as a youngster developing up in Devon in a school of 1,500 white youngsters, pretending that I liked indie music and pretending I used to be to suit in and continue to exist, and that I left the metropolis due to the fact I deep down in my coronary heart I didn't resonate with every person, but I was in that small metropolis surrounded by using 1,500 white children that loved the kooks, and then 18 I used to be like I am out here, I am gonna move be Steve Pass to Manchester, and I dropped, and that I commenced to, and that I suppose all of us of their life, regardless of what stroll of existence you face that choice, and both you've realized that you're dwelling in identification or a life unfaithful to yourself, and you have gone on the adventure to head discover yourself, or proper now as you are being attentive to this and you will are aware of it, because the phrases which you've described there will ring actual, so that I completely remember that, and that makes whole experience to me. And one of the things that I say is the most brave component you can do above all bravery is to be honest with yourself. Why is that so hard? In recent times I had one day final week changed into honestly Sunday. where I didn't have my heel and I had a little bit of junk meals, and I do not know what it is. However, I suppose my body has got used to ingesting smooth meals, because for the next 3 days I felt I still kind of experience what day we are now, Tuesday. I nonetheless kind of experienced crap from the junk food that I simply had one inebriated meal. I had this junk meal, right? I still experience crap now. I do not know what it is. I assume my frame has clearly were given used to consuming suitable food. So the minute now that I installed something, this is horrific for me. My frame is going, Steve, what are you doing? And I felt terrible for the remaining days, and I've lower back to Huel, and I feel top once more. That is just an anecdotal story, but I stated this to my pa final nighttime. I said, I for a few purpose, having now transitioned to a actually right food regimen on your any type of dabble with the stuff that I used to consume is greater kind of alarming to my frame, and I notice it way more than I ever had. So yeah, it is one factor having a podcast sponsor that will pay you money, but it's another issue having a podcast sponsor who you virtually consider can help people change their lives for the higher. One of the things that I say is the most brave issue you may do, peculiarly bravery, is to be honest with yourself. Why is that so tough these days? You recognize humans say to me, and what is the bravest factor you have ever done? And I usually talk approximately the story of the task center steps, because that took courage, that took balls, that it's bravery proper there. You understand, I have been in rooms where bullets are flying over my head. I have kicked doors down, and I've stored existence. It is like, it really is no longer being brave. It is simply me being great at my job and loving what I do. You understand, it's no longer, there is not anything to do with bravery. You recognize bravery is nearly pressured upon you, but while you decide to step into the arena, while you make a decision to step into that and move right, I'm going to face this and position that replicate on yourself in the long run, facing yourself. This is the hardest but maximum liberating component I've ever executed, and people shy away from that, and that they stay inside the void. They live this lifestyles where they may be simply living the void. I name it and say you are on autopilot because you're lying to yourself, and it's quite easy. Consequently, you're going to stay a lie. I do not care. It's, I am not the Archbishop of Canterbury. I am no longer a rocket scientist. It's just easy technology. You understand, in case you misinform yourself, guess what, you're going to stay a lie. I'm, however, standing in the mirror and ripping yourself apart does eliminate all of and all the complications, and it frees you as in person. However, it is, you need to do it on an ordinary foundation. You cannot just pass. I have executed it once, so here we pass. I have discovered myself. That is who I'm, because with a bit of luck, you're constantly converting, you are constantly evolving, you are continuously adapting your mindset. You realize it truly is what evolution is about. You know that the international is designed to you recognizes is it evolutionizes, and we're designed to do exactly the same. In the instant which you are no longer honest with yourself, this recreation over for you. It's like, it's such as you do. You simply want to be simply that man or woman, like lots of humans say to me, and I don't forget you, don't forget me from the military. I am like, yeah, they were given, you've got changed a lot, you've changed. I'm like that. I haven't seen you for 10 years. I am hoping I have modified, and I say to them, you haven't. That's why you're nevertheless simply that guy. That is why I'm at Middleton, and you are nevertheless simply that man is due to pass. I have modified, I'd like to suppose. In some other 10 years' time, whilst you see me, that I've modified, again, due to the fact if I haven't, I am doing something incorrect, and that doing something incorrect isn't always being honest with myself, and it all is going to return to you as an individual. Nobody can try this for you, no person can try this for you, and that I say to each, all, and sundry, the whole lot starts with you, and it's so actual. In case you don't need to exchange, not anything will alternate around you. In case you do not want to be honest with yourself, well, guess what, your mendacity to yourself, it's a complete contrary. Consequently, you are dwelling a lie. It is like you've got to do that on a weekly, on a monthly foundation. Anytime an impediment became thrown in the front of you, you couldn't fall lower back on right. To be sincere with yourself, be honest with who you are, be honest with you, with how you address matters, and don't mislead yourself. The value of being yourself and being honest with yourself is it reputedly growing on this day and age, and I locate it. I suppose it really is a genuinely, virtually legitimate point, one that I didn't think expressed well, which is you had that reflective moment when you sat on the one's stairs in which you say, we're going to begin being honest with ourselves, but then specifically as you get extra success, on your media profession and the whole lot else, the forces at play trying to get you to now not be honest with yourself, get more and more. And this is this loopy form of I do not know paradox, or something we see in society at the moment. That's you being honest with yourself is the cause you're sat here. It is the motive you're at Middleton, however, and that is what's made you go explode proper. But then the higher you get, it is like, I don't know, you realize the resistance for you no longer to be yourself turns into more, because now you're greater of a target proper tough, a difficult life to live. Do you understand what I have been witness of it? The council culture, the don't say that because you will lose this ebook deal, you'll lose that media career, you will lose that production and witness of it right now. I listen it likely on a weekly basis, but then that's that square peg spherical hole. It's like, no, I don't, you comprehend, it's on every occasion. I think about that, and that I constantly have principles with the whole thing that I do is don't exit to offend. So I don't say matters to offend human beings, therefore they choose to be angry. I don't say matters to offend human beings. I simply say matters what I suppose is right, was what served me. I'm precise in my reports and my profession, my attitude. And the second one element is you understand do not do things maliciously. So to start with, do not go out it is verbal, and also movements. You already know do not do matters maliciously, because then in the end, you will have a backlash. You're going to have a reaction to what you have accomplished. So it really is precisely what I do. I don't go out to offend, however, I exit to inform the reality. However, I also go out to searching for the truth, and I go out to in search of the fact. Once more, the entirety starts with you and with who I'm. It's dangerous, and it is in reality. In the social media area, it's dangerous, it's miles risky. However, with a bit of luck, you get beyond that stage of humans, realizing that virtually that is he's not been any specific. He's now not, you understand, voiced something specific. He's not tried to shape into a media timetable. He's no longer looking to try to blag everybody. He's no longer being faux. That is who Ant Middleton is, and he will always be like that regardless. However, then there's that platform of not attaining that degree quite, and then the whole lot descending upon you, and I, and sadly there may be loads of humans obtainable which are scared to say what they simply sense, are scared to voice their critiques, scared to, voice their values, because ultimately it takes meals off the table. It is a career stopper while your profession stops. Guess what suffers after that? Your own family. And then when that suffers, guess what there is now? Not lots out there for you. You have to rebuild once more properly all the ones 10, 15, 2 decades career, which you've built. Fascinated with that one moment. Is it really worth it? No. So what do you do? Maintain quiet. What did you do? Don't do something. Just say what they need you to say and do what they need you to do. That doesn't rub with me. That's the sore point with me. You already know you attempt to make me a person that I am no longer, like I've been made someone them than I'm that I'm now not. You are probably going to get, even you sense, going to get the worst out of me even greater. So due to the fact the entirety comes back round to who you honestly are, they may be looking to manage you. Yeah, it's a controlling measure, and it's like, pay attention. I've allow human beings manage my existence. I have let situations manipulate my existence. And I have ended up psychologically, no longer physically, psychologically, on that brink of thinking who am I? That's what I query. And the instant I start thinking who am I, then I recognize that venture isn't always for me. I understand that sponsor isn't for me. I realize that TV channel or that TV production isn't always for me, because the instant that comes into query, and it is like, you probably do not get who I'm. You likely don't apprehend who I'm. You in all likelihood haven't carried out your homework with who I'm. Do I in shape into your schedule? And it is like, in case you don't suit into one timetable, you get bounced boom straight across to the opposite facet, right? It's like, listen, I do not belong on that side. It's just purpose I do not agree with. And in this facet would not suggest I belong on that facet. Yeah, I belong within the middle. You already know. Humans say you are you at the left. You are on the proper. I'm like, I am no longer at the left or right. I'm in the center. I'm inside the center. You assert barely something that goes against the schedule. Alternatively, you simply get bounced straight to the opposite side, the proper road. I do not understand you. The left may not recognize you. So there is who are your enemies of each. Yeah. However, it's and it is a risky vicinity to live in. That is it's a sad state of affairs, a real sad, unhappy state of affairs. And you realize, just because your values and your perspectives Our exclusive doesn't mean my message is not the equal. My message, everything that I do is about positivity. It is about mindset. It is about bringing human beings. Collectively, you look at SAS, who dares wins. What does it do? Makes people recognize what they may be capable of, makes them locate themselves. It brings human beings collectively, brings families collectively. You already know mutiny. Teamwork brings human beings collectively. Get away. You recognize immediately speaking, being honest and open, and then it makes you experience good. It brings you collectively. It unites humans due to the fact they can be open and honest with themselves, and therefore they realize what they're able to. Self-belief begins to kick in and they feel suitable about. It's bringing humans together, right? And this is, you'll be inhumane surely to not think like that, to no longer want to help people out, to now not want to. So the message is continually the equal, but it is this bit within the center proper. Don't you ever get pushed to at least one side. You cannot have this kind of within the middle opinion of nicely, actually my values are the same as yours. You realize I am all approximately superb trade. Yeah. Okay, so why are you saying my values do not in shape with yours due to the fact I'm approximately fantastic? Exchange. Have a look at my message for the closing 5-6 years. When you consider that I've been inside the media, it's superb. Exchange. Team spirit. Look at what I do, the entirety I do, whether or not it is my books, my excursions, my television applications, the whole lot is ready, bringing people together, bringing the great out of human beings. So simply because this in-between bit, my views are distinctive and mine are possibly truthful, which human beings don't need to hear the reality. It is like proper jump off to one side, after which, and then you definitely begin to get canceled. But what is the solution? Although I hear, we've heard Piers Morgan talk plenty approximately this is properly, and other people communicate about how, in case you don't flawlessly in shape the views or the best hashtag of the left or anything, then you are basically being canceled in tradition. And I surely that is a possibly the most real query I've ever requested on this podcast, because it's one that I am considering all the time. Is I additionally see this happening. My views don't usually suit the left or the proper, and sometimes like within the Black Lives Depend moment I posted on my Instagram saying it became definitely my quality acting submit of all time. I said, due to the fact there was this whole narrative round like silence is violence, and in case you're not pronouncing anything, then you're a racist. I did a submit pronouncing like it's manifestly, as I stated, it is unpopular Black opinion. If someone does not put up a black square on their Instagram, does not lead them to a racist people. Process matters. In absolutely distinctive, in reality, the most unnatural reaction to trauma is to take to social media. And that absolutely, it turned into, it became, it didn't match the silences the day and say, oh, that changed into pleasant, we do not, there's no area for any of that. And I suppose it's especially terrible in this enterprise right extra. So then the alternative, due to the fact when it comes to musicians or actors or anything there is some humans around them proper who are searching after them and who are saying no and who are advising them. And also they may be not their personal content. Brad Pitt does not play Brad Pitt. He plays a person else. Proper, a person like me. My job is to edit myself, take my very own photograph, make my personal caption, reply to my very own comments, and it's all like Jim. It is very clean to then suppose you're the middle of the universe, but surely for every person who is commenting going Jim Fitness Center, they are also commenting on all people else's content material because they just devour the content. I is probably their favorite. I won't. It would not count number. I am no longer I'm no longer my job, and I assume that is honestly important for lots of influencers to training session like they trust themselves to be important. And in reality, I say this quite lots. If I had been to die the next day, there'd be my buddies and own family could be gutted glaringly, and they might be genuinely, certainly unhappy, and there'd be some human beings in my target market who have been who have a real connection with him, but for the maximum component, humans move. Oh, that's a disgrace. I preferred him, and then pass on and locate a person else. I'm no longer that critical to them that they can't retain without me. So humorous, because that it sounds in reality depressive to some diploma to mention, oh, I do not depend something, but I in reality think it's the opposite, sincerely freeing. Yeah, it is the most freeing component ever. I consider having the same form of existential verbal exchange with myself, and it surely came about once I found out about the universe and space, right? And that I were given absolutely into the cosmos, and I was like, wait a minute, I am, and now not critical in any respect, definitely when it, like, there may be a scene in Cosmos wherein it zooms out from and it simply continues going and you're like, wait, stop, and it is like, nope, that's just the moon, after which it goes out and it's like, it's just the galaxy, and then the galaxy turns into a chunk of sand and you're like, what? The right but the freeing part is meaning that everyone this doesn't remember, and that's liberation, like ego can be, and this is the effective issue about psychedelics. From the last individual that is available, who is the largest psychedelic investor within the world, right, is it dissolves your ego and says to you, not anything you do not depend proper, and yeah, so I simply concept that became captivating. It's truly, it is something that's absolutely vital to the foundations I can fall again on being true to myself, and there is no greater liberating, Steve, freeing feeling than that of being proper to who you're going to. You realize what I am no longer going to healthy into that agenda. I am no longer going to suit into that container. I'm not going to squeeze myself in there to make myself experience uncomfortable for your agenda due to the fact this is no longer who I am. Could you instead lose at all? Yeah, 100 due to the fact I have were given my foundations. I've got my foundations. I will always build, Steve, usually build. And this component of the constructing is so high now that can you cancel me crack on due to the fact I guarantee you I just preserve constructing this side of this aspect determined due to the fact the people that recognize me understand who I'm, and someone stated this to me with all of the stuff it has been occurring recently. You realize I have had a few sponsors I've canceled. I have had some TV packages that I've kind of crack on, but the humans that by using my facet, the sponsors and the channels and the production organizations that by using my side, which have labored for me announcing, and we've the privilege of understanding you, in that inaccurate accord to me, although I am like, they have the privilege of understanding me, and I suppose to myself, wow, you have the privilege of understanding. I have got the privilege of understanding myself because I recognize who I'm. And I am happy, I am glad I gave you that privilege, and it's not being big-headed. I'm glad I gave you that privilege of knowing me due to the fact that that is just a hurricane of phrases. You recognize that this is just media hype. You understand this is just fake news. You recognize this isn't actual. You realize, yeah, I have maybe got a little bit of a fiery side to me. However, you recognize you're getting that with me. I am rough around the rims, so yeah, and I am satisfied to you. No, to reduce some of the edges, but the ones edges are nonetheless going to be there. Do what I suggest. So once they stated that to me, and it is something, a good way to stay with me forever, and it's from a very excellent sponsor. You already know I'm very a great deal to do with my books, and I'm able to simply, and I don't forget sitting again and just taking that breath and going, maintain doing what you are doing, then you definitely doing the right aspect, and then this ultimate week. So many doors have opened, manufacturing companies calling me, channels calling me, you understand, and you pay attention approximately, you listen approximately. Oh, you get canceled, then this is your career done, and but you then were given your Piers Morgans, you have got your Jeremy Clarksons, and now you have your Aunt Middleton's K, and it just goes to reveal that I'm doing the right aspect, and that honestly, yeah, I'm now not going to healthy. I am now not going to be relaxed with all people, and I am now not going to be their cup of tea properly that is satisfactory, because bet what I do not need to paintings with you if I am getting puzzled one little bit about my who I'm, like I stated earlier, than if I am getting wondered one little bit approximately who I'm by way of any brands, any sponsors, any channels, then I'm able to now not paintings with them. I can say, listen, thank you very a lot. It's glaringly, you understand now, not the right match. You go on and do your thing, and I will pass on and do my element, because I will continually go on and do my element, and that building can absolutely drop to the rules. But whilst you're honest with yourself and you realize who you're, those foundations are strong, you will continually have something to build from. But whilst you're now not honest with yourself and everything comes crumbling down and you haven't any foundations to fall on your, that is whilst you're in trouble. It truly is when you start to go nicely. I may not say that, I may not act like this, I won't do this and I won't do that. And that is when you come to be someone else. It is when you grow to be foe to who you are, and wager what desperate times then you are like a wounded animal, and wager what you're probably going to be right in the back of the for the rest of your existence. The mental effect of dwelling a lifestyle that is not true to yourself. And I mean, this is why human beings have those like midlife crises after they've, even in like the professional international, where they have got you recognize their moms and dads have advised them to cross and be anything, a banker or attorney they do not want to be. They want to be a dancer or something, and then they get mid-existence disaster and you observe for the duration of psychology. I talk approximately this a touch bit my book you realize. If you have a look at sure communities like the LGBTQ network, their suicide fees are so excessive among the ones corporations because plenty of them have been oppressed in a way where they cannot stay their actual existence, they cannot be their identity, so they've needed to stay alive as to stay a fake lifestyles, and you then see suicide prices cross up because that is a shape of torture, and this is when I asked you the query approximately might you as an alternative lose in any respect one could absolutely perhaps even though I question myself say well what are you dropping? Yeah, in case you're dropping TV indicates and you are dropping matters that are not true to yourself. Is it a loss? You understand it's no longer a loss due to the fact you will always find something that suits you, dude. I suggest if you have the passion and the force and the ambition and the positivity of understanding who you are, and in the long run the sector is your oyster. It's like you recognize humans have this effect of me, that I'm this hard confronted drill sergeant non-accepting man or woman. I am the whole contrary. Go and be the you need to be. It really is my message. If that is what, then don't allow each person pressure you into pronouncing something, doing anything, or being anyone else. Be yourself. But that is the aspect that humans do not see of you, and this, however, this is my personal side, Steve. Human beings see what they want to look. The media will write what they need to jot down. They'll make you, they may make you out to be who they want you to be. However, you cannot position all of that into a hashtag. You have to signify yourself in 10 letters. Yeah, and that is the hassle with problems which can be complex and nuanced, and there may be specific layers in you if it does not in shape right into a hashtag then, and this is the football group analogy as nicely short. Interjection earlier than we get. Return to the podcast. Simply want to mention that as you recognize, because I've mentioned it sometimes on this podcast, I'm in all likelihood one among the biggest users in the arena of a website referred to as Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. I use it for the entirety, whether or not it is my podcast or whether it is my personal brand content material, whether or not it's my enterprise or other projects that I am doing. And this week I have used it once more. I've used it to make a website called Katana. That's my investment organization. Human beings don't know this. My old enterprise was known as Social Chain, and Katana is the Italian phrase for chain. It is the idea. Preserve that to yourself, but it's just some other instance of how you can use Fiverr to help you make bigger your abilities as an entrepreneur, as a content creator. And I've managed to get an internet site up for my investment employer, Katana, within the area of 2.5 days, and it cost me 400 quid normally. That could price tens of heaps of kilos, and commonly it might take months. It truly is the power of Fiverr, allowing you to quick and cheaply expand the abilities of your crew, of your personal emblem, and reap matters that you might not have been capable to otherwise. I want to talk, though, going lower back to you recognize when you started within the Navy. One issue I find actually interesting is the man that became running round drinking, boozing, moving into trouble. For him then to enter the military and bypass with flying colors is like a large contradiction. In my mind, I am like, one seems to be a man that is form of out of control, the alternative one, and reputedly lacking the appreciation of authority, and then the other man is one that's capable of do what he's instructed and comply with orders. And how did you reap such? It really is what they need. That is what they need. They want the animal on the battlefield. They need the aggression. They want the violence due to the fact in the long run on the battlefield you counter violence with excessive violence. You understand there's zero tolerance to violence in Sydney Avenue in society. In recent times you show any shape of violence, you can emerge as at the back of bars. Been there, but in the Navy you counter violence with excessive violence. You counter anger with intense anger, and you are that's wished. I needed to be that person at the battlefield. I had ought to cut myself off from any emotional type of emotions, any emotional you realize type of discrepancies, because they have been the missions that I went on. Now I was searching down Taliban commanders I used to be stepping into as storms to firefights each week. Each couple, you understand, 2-3 times every week I had to put to name on the one's demons to return to the forefront of who I used to be to get the job achieved, after which switch it. You're predicted to switch it. Due to the fact 1 second you're kicking the door down, you realize putting off enemy combatants, the subsequent next door you are kicking the door down, there's women and children in there, so you live on that aspect, otherwise you stay on that aspect, after which whilst you get the too careworn you Understand UI is probably in Afghanistan. Excellent guy, position me on camp. You realize properly you can't be doing that, and nicely what who the do you want I suggest you can't be doing that, you can't be you already, no moving into fights downtown, you cannot be you already, no getting you already know I simply get right into a hell of a variety of fights, it is able to assist, break my army profession due to the fact you know however. Then 3 excursions of Afghanistan are accomplished almost lower back to, again best available man increase boom. Increase growth. So what animal do you want you understand? And it is K, which will turn from one to the other while when you're right here, but while you live at the entire opposite facets of the spectrum, you're going to get careworn each now, and then you're going to be met with a situation in society wherein you are met with aggression, you're met with violence, and this demon takes over. You recognize what it smiles is. It's a moment of madness. It is just a confusion conflict ion between the two, and it's between the two human beings, and on occasion it is going whack, yeah, and earlier than that crossover is an excessive amount of they are each like educated to continue to exist, however, in distinct environments, in completely special environments, and on occasion the ones environments you recognize, you are compelled to act, and people environments get switched, yeah. And it's literally like a flash in the front of your eyes. It is like bang bang. I used the wrong person there, I used the incorrect surroundings, and then it is the sector that I stay in, that's the sector that I lived in that turned into my existence, that was, you realize I used to come back returned from Afghanistan, and you recognize I've got 4 for kids at domestic, I am a 5th one from a previous relationship who's 19 but used to come home. I consider getting back from Afghanistan, and my daughter became born, she's 13 now, my daughter became born 10 days before I left for a 6-month excursion in Afghanistan, so she become born, so I did not understand her, and I came lower back 6 months later, and she turned into like almost 7 months, and then I went immediately on Special Forces selection, so for every other 6 months, so I got here back after like a year certainly of not absolutely being at home to a 12 months vintage daughter who slightly diagnosed me, you realized she might push me away, she would you understand, and I'd engage, and I will be playing dolls on the ground Barbies, and my spouse got here in one day, and I was gambling with these Barbies, and he or she concept, I would misplace the plot, she's like, you realize, we're given those Barbies collectively seeking to make her chuckle, seeking to make her smile due to the fact for the ultimate year she's simply visible, this pent-up battle machine, you realize, and I have come returned, and I am not very smooth to deal with at some point of those transitions. You realize I need a piece of time. What do you imply with the aid of that you're not very smooth to address in those transitions while you return from? You can not just take a success despite the fact that I can do it. I will take your head off, put a one of a kind head on, however, that transition of kicking doors all the way down to being back with a family I want even now after I go into reverse of filming. After I come back I need before. We certainly begin getting on again. You realize earlier than I begin settling, returned into the own family. It takes approximately 2 weeks. And again, me and my companion are the excellent, most like-minded companions within the international. The teamwork that we've got is honestly top-notch. You recognize subsequently why I've been along with her for 16 years, been married for 14, but it nevertheless takes that 2-week period for me of me breaking her recurring of me coming in, you understand, taking over everything. You already know with the children taking the kids to college, ruining her existence that she's constructed. I come in like a hurricane, and it takes 2 weeks before that typhoon generally calms down and we pass all proper. You already know I cannot argue into this, however, you understand. Simply disagreements, simply control problems. Can you comprehend? It is like worlds colliding, right after which, after the 2 weeks, as the whole thing settles, I'm away once more. I might be on tour. I is probably like I'm in Australia for 2 months now. It is like, so it is that consistent verbal exchange, or that constant, you understand, crossing over of worlds that you need to surely kind of mold collectively. And as my lifestyles is getting more and more, and I am no longer in these excessive octane conditions, I am not in those lifestyles or demise conditions, it's becoming less complicated and easier. You communicate. You already know I had absolutely a Navy commando sat in the seat as well, who mentioned his reviews, and while he came returned from struggle, he was speaking to me approximately the PTSD he suffered, and just being around the house and seeing the tin can stacked on the shelf at domestic, and then prefer barking at his spouse due to the fact they were not straight in matters like that, and feeling that you realize feeling a number of the disciplines of all coming domestic with him. I visible you talk on this subject matter, so I recognize that you realize you have dealt with that during an exceptional way, but what are some of the things which have come again with you from struggle that you don't like or which you think aren't supporting you in your non-public life? They're extraordinary worlds you deal with dark humor, darkish banter to get you through certain conditions, and that dark humor and darkish banter and dark manner of speaking is a norm to you because you stay and breathe that, and every now and then that comes out you already know, and only whilst I'm doing a army fashion display you realize you return out you would possibly say something that's for me probably a throwaway remark or a chunk of banter. Then you definitely recognize there may be 100 of group contributors listening, and there may be not anything you understand. It just is probably, I would say, something about someone, or it's by no means direct. You are aware of it's constantly an oblique communication that it's that army banter that I hate. On occasion I hear myself talking like a Navy man, and that I hate it. I might say Navy words, hoofing, honking, became you understand there is masses of them out there, and that I think to myself, why are you speak me like that? But it is simply it just comes out due to the fact I might locate myself in a high octane situation, in a disturbing scenario, in an aggressive situation and a violent situation, which I revert again to what I recognize works, which is that this in the end, this Navy individual, but then I think you understand I am no longer in a Navy surroundings. I'm not in an AIM in society I have were given, and it's controlling that I find simply tough. However, knowing, also acknowledging that it desires to be controlled, you recognize I am no longer in the Navy anymore, you recognize. And that I usually hate this as soon as a Marine, constantly a Marine, you understand you get human beings pass higher. Once a Marine, continually a Marine, I am like I was a Marine 12 years ago, 10 years in the past. You realize now I am a media TV presenter. I'm now an extinguished creator. I'm now, you understand, I really like to mention, like you realize approximately mindset, my attitude, female go around, do my excursions. I'm in a completely exceptional space, but I have to tug upon this young soldier on occasion in order to get the job carried out due to the fact I recognize that works. You already know I recognize that if I try this but I just want to great track it, I need to buffer it around the edges, which again is a piece in progress. You understand, I put my palms up once I move. Hell, do you already know what I mean? Yeah, I shouldn't have said that I should not have executed that, and I'm the first one to confess it. However, human beings need to realize that, listen, it is a piece in development. It is now not something I'm able to change overnight. You want to understand me. You want to understand who I am. If you wanted to well known that, okay, well, hell yeah, that turned into a chunk uncomfortable to look a number of the things that we do with the recruits. You realize they are like, and she's like, he is on his knees, and you're literally, you understand, announcing to him that you stay there. You already know if you suppose you are no longer worth, you already know if you, in case you're a bit of blah, blah, blah. However, it's difficult for people to peer that and to watch that. However, ultimately there may be usually a fantastic motivator in the back of that. So it really is where people, I think, get harassed, is like negativity is a super gasoline. It's an awesome supply to use to get to wherein you want to be, however handiest, if there's a nice motivator beforehand of it. So you can't use negativity to get through a situation if there may be no longer a nice motivator, because all you'll do is you may feel off inside the terrible lane due to the fact there may be no high quality motivators to aim closer to it. Is like a plow. Like I say, the plow is the fantastic motivator, and the gas is the bad with aggression, whether it is revenge, whether or not it's you realize show human beings incorrect, whether or not it's you recognize, those are all matters that gasoline you. However, you be sure that there's continually a wonderful motivator. So when I'm speaking like that to the recruits, what I'm doing, it's trust it, or no longer to get the best out of them, to cause them to understand what they are able to make them carry, their attributes and personality to the leading edge, so they can discover who they're, and a whole lot of human beings, they create that to the vanguard or a match that reflect on them, and that they examine themselves and they cross a music. No, I do not like what I see. They VW, or they cross, or they depart. Yeah, so it really is what I was going to say. It's also a filter. It is a clear out, and that is what a diffusion procedure is, and that is, however, that is how I It is no longer most effective what choice system is, it's how I live my lifestyle. Steve, I'm so brutally honest with what I do in situations I find myself in, and the environment that I pick to be in is it, and it is that brutal honesty, it is that brutal kind of reality that the motivator is usually becoming a better model of who you are, of learning something, developing from it, and becoming a better model of who you have been the day gone by. And the way critical is it to take non-public responsibility in your effects in life, because there may be a growing way of life of blame and victimhood, and that I see this as well as a person that you already know that the exceptional issue that likely took place to me is if I used to be a success and I had parents that have been rich and that I had hundreds of money and that I got a diploma and I were given those superb grades, human beings might right now go, well, no, Steve can't tell us something due to the fact he were given handy it to him. Fortunately, I used to be the alternative. I'm a black child, born in Africa, kicked out of school, dropped out of college. After one lecture, were given no degree, parents are bankrupt, so I'm able to speak a little bit greater, approximately like private duty, without being discredited. Humans say, oh, nicely of path you say that, and like, yeah, but I see this developing subculture because I was a child in Moscow, in Manchester, stealing pizzas to feed myself. Most effective, I do not know, 7-8 years in the past, and I recognize that my attitude and the conduct that my mindset created is the cause I am sat right here now, like of direction. There is good fortune timing. I keep in mind that, however, my mindset extended my chance of being sat here now. So when I hold forth that to people, in particular human beings that don't need to take non-public duty, or like you already know, victimhood or blame maintains them first rate and secure and comfortable, and it method they do not should appearance inside. They reflect, yeah, they go indistinct. You man, but it is hard to assault me. It is tough to attack me due to the fact what you are going to say. Yeah, you already know what privilege I had. The privilege I had was moving to this U.S. as a baby. However, it's a privilege of knowing who you are. Yeah, so you can take all that profits. Yeah, due to the fact they have not got the non-public privilege of knowing you yet proper, but you have the privilege of knowing yourself, because bet what you have been there. You've got performed it. You have got the blouse. You've got been honest with yourself. You recognize, you realize, you recognize your errors, you recognize your areas of your manner. You study from failure, you develop from it, you come to be a higher model of who you're. So that's what it is. Why I say that statement of we've got the privilege of understanding you is so powerful, because ultimately it's what you fall lower back on all the time. It's why you can take it. That is why you can take that, and it will jump off you, just like that's your negativity. It really is it is nothing to do with me. That is you, and it bounces off me like it bounces off you. However, the moment you step into that suffer mentality, this is whilst you feel that the arena owes you the entirety, it truly is, while you sense like that, why is he where he's, and I'm now not there? Why has he got this and I haven't? We're given this proper. Well, I may want to quite happily pass returned and now not be canceled. Okay, as an instance, if I went, guys, yeah, definitely, absolutely sorry, approximately that. However, I suffered from a chunk from PTSD. You recognize the loss of life of my father, It's like a hell. It is like one. I do not suffer from PTSD. How many times have I had that thrown at me, Steve, going, and in case you say you suffer from PTSD, who can question that properly? No one can query it in reality. Wait, there may be one individual that can question it, me, because I have not got a PTSD. Nicely, no, you have not. However, in case you say that, then the papers will do that, the courts will do that, people will begin to move. Oh, well, clearly you recognize the stuff that he's been via, and he's visible, he has performed, he has witnessed. You have route, concentrate, throw him some other bones, supply him some other threat I experienced. Sorry for him. That Jeremy, and it is like once I went to prison, I left the military, went to prison, got into a violent altercation. Yep, violence on violence, of course, position my hand up 100. I will do my time, my lawyer said to me, and do you want to go to prison? I was like of route, I do not want to visit prison. Who desires to go to prison? He said, well, pay attention. He is your out. He went, say you've got PTSD. If you say you obtain PTSD, he stated, I assure you, that's what he said to me, assure you, you'll now not visit prison. You may get suspended sentence. You will have to cross and do multiple guides, after which you may be at home with the family. And I had 4 kids and a spouse. Certainly at the time I had 2 youngsters. And a spouse, a domestic that depended on me. I could not mislead myself. I concept, don't get me wrong, I'm no longer going to deceive you. I thought to myself, do what that sounds attractive, due to the fact who can tell me that I have never got PTSD, but then the question always is, going return to you due to the fact handiest you maintain, the solution Steve simplest you've got that solution simplest I knew, that answer I should deceive myself and live a lie and is aware of in which I will be, now right I might be a bloody PTSD with a counselor, I is probably you understand but I'd have gone down that avenue for years proper so I have got 2 years suspended, due to the fact years of happening a street that wasn't me taking place that road of pure lies each step I took would not be a real one. I always say to human beings will mold you and direct you in existence. That is what human beings are there for, accurate human beings anyway. They are trying and mildew, however, if that first footstep which you take isn't always a real one I stated, do now not take it, and the simplest person that is aware of that is you, and I constantly continually always go. Again to that do I experience comfortable taking this footstep sure. I do the relaxation of the sector would not well wager what I sense comfy doing it however however that he is going to have something to say approximately it she's going to have something to mention approximately they may be going to have something to mention approximately it I do not care is it genuine to me move back to who I'm increase I take it and that I address anything comes at me because it could sort off me proper due to the fact as we spoke approximately it's like it is like we recognize who we are, we understand what we're approximately, we understand we're appropriate human beings, so I'm willing to take that bang, 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 and it does, Steve, it does actually bounce off me, but additionally, while it does get into me due to the fact the moment it starts off evolved, you realize while it gets over, it does get into you once I take a seat down and manner it fuels me, I sense like Thanos, it's like it is much like due to the fact I am being authentic to who I'm and all this negative and I'm thinking right simply growth because wager what I preach positivity until it comes home everything I agree with is down to a fantastic mindset and how you understand the way that you assume and the manner we have this default attitude which is negative you recognize the whole things like what if this what if that may not do they see you or Marcus Rashford isn't always truly an actual human proper and an idol and so that they assume just leaving they may be no longer like an inherently terrible man or woman, but while you get anonymity and we all have this, you realize envy in us that comes from someplace you realize the lifeboat analogy, right? And so like, I am what I am, I don't know what I am essentially announcing is like, I do not suppose we're ever going a good way to cure that hassle with the most effective manner I have really seen is I assume you'd kill 99 of it if social networks were not nameless and you had to add your passport because I assume in case you join real-world consequences to conduct I fully agree it's why you don't get your dick out in public it is like well properly this is now not why but it is like it's the only cause it's why you do not cross as much as someone and say those matters in public due to the fact there is actual global effects. Totally agree I assume I think human beings ought to have to be some sort of like identification manner when you set up an account I totally trusted due to the fact the amount I get the quantity Sarah receives is it is an actual bloody shame as properly because especially due to the fact those human beings are like speculated to be and that I use this in inverted commas fans they're alleged to care about my life are supposed to you already know they accompanied me for a cause and that I refuse to believe particularly due to the fact I like to think I'm a pressure of positivity I have a tendency I speak and that I percentage real matters but even when I am talking approximately mental health or a bigger trouble I do so from a stance of positivity proper at the least I attempt to so I refuse to consider that someone is that terrible or hates me that a great deal however in 6 mil you have I recognize 6 how many fans you got throughout the whole lot sort of do not suppose I've were given on YouTube 2 on Insta just over 2 on Twitter I don't recognize approximately FB yes 678 something but you then accomplishing extra human beings you recognize the humans that follow you are not those that you're reached you have path in case you took that many human beings and notion probabilistically how lots of them would just now not be like okay human beings however have the capability of sending out lousy messages, there may be gonna be thousands, you furthermore MGHT guarantee that once I do like as an example, once I announced that Sarah and I have been pregnant, I went on to Twitter and I was trending and I have never tried it for years. I was like, oh, this is amusing. I have not attempted it for see you later. due to the fact they're going, oh, I failed that imply, it's like, yeah, I might not cross near that once more. That will become a part of your identification. I'm a failure. I am a failure, yes. So they whenever screw ups that they assume their safety bubble or victim, however, anything they might not move anywhere near it. However, I love it whilst negativity comes alongside and failure comes alongside. I am so intrigued on what I'll get out of it. I am so intrigued what I learned from it. Because whilst you study, you develop, while you grow, you end up a better version of who you are. It is simply that it is that knock-in impact that it has, and failure is precisely that. Failure is not going anywhere. I found up to now in my existence, I am going to fail to the day I die, so you, every unmarried one among you in here is going to fail whether you want it or now not. It's miles normal, a part of lifestyles as much as it is breathing. It's surrounded by us, so why can we ignore it if it's part of who we are and a part of what's what makes the arena tick? Then why don't we use it to our gain? Because the perceived value of failure, something that might be, Jenny at work goes to assume I am now not so something, and this individual is going to write this approximately me. The perceived cost, especially in the short term, feels extra. It feels, and that is the identical force of just like the computer brigade, or that you comprehend. It's like it is better simply to live to your lane today and to put your head down, be quiet, due to the fact human beings assume, and this is the where and it's wrong, human beings think it's the most secure place to be. Reflecting on my own adventure after I went to college, and I knew that this turned into a piece of it, and I needed to stop if I used to be really gonna come to be an entrepreneur. Like it is calling my mother and then telling her I am losing out, and her telling me in no way to speak to her once more, right? That was the resistance. That was the instant where existence is going live for your a lane proper. Yeah. However, whilst people get you have been so that you had been so, and then but my mind becomes so clear. The most important danger, the largest failure would have been staying in college and dwelling a lifestyles now not authentic to myself. A few people, humans, say, oh, you are, so you have so much braveness. Braveness might have been staying, yeah, right? And I suppose that is it really is the thing of direction. My mother says I might by no means communicate to me again, and I do not speak to her for 2 years, but study the upside of living even if I would failed, like observe the upside of being myself. And I suppose it really is quite lots what I'm listening to from what you're pronouncing is like there is this, there is the fast time resistance in which it's like, oh my God, if you fail, you'll lose all of it. So I know you'll lose it all if you do not attempt. Precisely how the thing approximately it's far, the manner that your attitude thinks, then it's far. It is no longer a complicated way of questioning. It is like it's so easy, simply so simple, stupid that it's almost incomprehensible. And the entirety that I do, and you simply stated it then, and make what you simply stated that makes complete experience to me. Each unmarried phrase you said about that story, I'm like that. Yes, it's like it is obviously like why would not you do that, right? But occasionally the maximum apparent things that are the hardest to procedure, the toughest to attain. And with my books and then my excursions, I do not get people coming off my excursions going, and you recognize I have tapped into this part of my mind now. Thanks for this. It's like they come off my tools. I will read my books and cross it became usually in there. Yes, you just gave me this kick yourself moment where I am just like, how did I now not see that? How did I now not? You placed it in such layman phrases, because I'm an easy man. I mean, I'm not in mind. I'm no longer a bookworm. I am a simpleton. I'm an easy guy. I keep matters. The manner that I am getting to my solutions is good, bad, right, incorrect, advantageous, terrible, sure, no. I suggest I maintain it, and it is listening. However, it's taking note of who I'm in. It's the most simplest way of getting to wherein you need to be, but we permit the limitations and the complications of society and what different human beings assume cloud all of that. I nearly see it like two dials proper. One of them is that this voice inside which every person has in them, they are saying go and dance inside the hills of Costa Rica, after which there may be this other actually loud dial proper, the sound dial, and it is society and your mother and your anything, and that one's announcing past, be a lawyer and close-up proper. And in all of our lives, I think one dial is a little bit higher than the other, and the hard aspect, but the maximum important issue you can do if you want to attain your capability. Be happy, keep away from intellectual health problems, keep away from midlife crises, is to love, flip up the inner dial, and simply try to get that different dial, that society's voice proper, all the way down to a zero right and I just, do you recognize, I simply sense if absolutely everyone should simply do that of their personal lives, which is not clean to do, because taking note of this internal voice is going to come with actual resistance. Human beings are going to cancel you. They are going to, my mom's going to now not communicate to me for years, right? However, that is the short time fee for a long time gain, and as is the manner with comfort I see, like consolation, and prefer fending off with that resistance it seems like a chum, it is a brief time period buddy, but a protracted time period enemy. And in case you already know, in case you had, if you in the moments where you have said you've got been like canceled, quote unquote, had you caved short time period pal, probably would nonetheless have a show or two you have route lengthy time period belongs. And that I say to people, what you have got to comprehend is that you are with yourself 24 hours a day for the relaxation of your life. No person else may even come near, that nobody else may also come close to that. So you are with yourself your entire existence. People, they come and cross. Conditions, they arrive and move. So in the end, you have to stay with yourself first before you attempt to live with all and sundry else, before you attempt to live with any scenario earlier than you attempt to place yourself into any surroundings. It truly is what I say to humans. When they go well, I am like you're with yourself 24 hours a day to the day you die. Nothing comes close to that. Nobody comes close to being everywhere near that. That's the person you've got on. It's who you are. Yeah, so it's the man or woman who you have to honor, that is the individual that you were given to make satisfied. Boss, that is the boss, right? This is the person. It's not possible to please that voice and that voice proper. So but please yourself, and then ultimately you understand what comes out. It will must be warfare, must be authentic need to be proper. So, and then you will locate your belonging. You'll find your circle. You'll discover your like-minded human beings. You'll find you'll discover your belonging. It's like, you have to recognize as you get more hit, as you recognize, you start questioning, you start converting, begin evolving your mindset more and more, and increasingly more your circle gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm happy with that. I am happy with that, due to the fact not that I am above all people or beneath every person. We're just on extraordinary ends of the spectrum. Okay, because guess what I am going to hold? Evolving my mindset's going to maintain changing. I'm going to hold getting smart. I am going to hold getting extra knowledgeable. I'm going to hold being honest with myself. And for me, it is my purpose in existence. Nothing available. It's great to have the first-rate automobiles and high-quality houses. Do not get me incorrect. It is first class to have cash. I've had no money, and now I have got cash. I realize which facet I might as a substitute be on. Okay, it truly is all, but that is all that comes element and parcel with being actual to who you are. And my motive in life, that is I'm able to by no means acquire, however, which is I find charming, is seeking to get the best possible version of Aunt Middleton, looking to get to that. Okay, however, knowing that I in no way get to that solution, due to the fact I will be in this consistent development of becoming a better version of who I am, but I never emerge as the first-class version of who I'm due to. The fact it really is, while you're perfect, it's whilst you are 100 you, and that's now not real. It would not exist. However, the purpose of getting closer and nearer and closer, and in the direction of that solution, is one of these captivating adventure for me, that there's not anything that comes close to it. There's not anything that comes close to it. And whether I have the counseling or the suggests that preserve coming, or the television manufacturing groups that call me now, and the channels that move, whether I've disasters or anything, it is able to be all of those. The entirety that bounces in towards me is something to analyze from, and it's a lesson, and I'm going to analyze from it, and I'm going to develop from it, and I am going to get closer and closer to the solution, nearer and in the direction of to my goal, nearer and toward my purpose. And this is to attempt to get as close as I can to being the first-rate version of myself, and I'm concerned with it. I am addicted by way of it. I'm addicted to it. I am captivated with it. So like I said, when I get that Thanos moment, I'm like, carry all this negativity at me, bring it, because I'm simply churning away. It doesn't suggest I am continually happy. You realize I am no longer usually satisfied. You realize you already know I don't move around sprinkling advantageous fairy dirt. I am no longer that kind of preacher, right? But I preach you understand working, to your mind to make it fantastic. You realize you already know hard, terrible situation, thinking terrible situation I have got to address with a high quality mindset, make a conservative effort to educate your mindset to think positively, to turn the script from this default attitude in which everyone you realize thinks negatively. And I really like operating at that. I love running out. So all of these items that you deliver me, it does once I were given, because I go quiet like this ultimate week has been a media storm, and I'll pass quiet, and I'll be with my own family. I'll be with my management. They're like, are not you quiet? I'm quiet due to the fact I am churning away at negativity. I'm now not unhappy. Don't get me wrong. Pay attention. However, I want to be left alone for 2-3 days, maybe per week, because there is a lot negativity coming in, and I am chipping away, attempting to discover the mild, no, not anything there, and that I locate the mild, attempting to find growth, bang after, which I bank this positivity, and then the next week I'll be increased lower back to ant. Do I suggest back to this fantastic, certainly wonderful individual due to the fact I've skilled my thoughts to suppose like that. I'm always in a positive head area. However, occasionally I will go quiet, doesn't suggest I'm always glad, so do not get positivity combined up with happiness. Yeah, due to the fact they are completely different things, and happiness comes from and knowing who you realize it comes from being authentic to you are knowing who you are, and you can be the poorest man in the global, and you may be there. You already know you can have no one or nothing. However, you ought to nevertheless be glad. You already know you could be the richest guy within the global, and you know you understand the script. Certainly one of them's like a fashionable feel of optimism, that I'm wonderful, approximately the destiny. The other one's much like inner contentment, and then however our moods change, route, you realize we've days, horrific days, whatever, but we're optimistic and tight proper. One of the questions I honestly wanted to ask you due to what is happening in the world with this entire pandemic in COVID is, I was wondering, as I used to be like brushing my teeth or whatever, this morning I used to be questioning, there is a ton. If my target audience could ask you one thing, probably would be across the reality that the arena changed this year. A variety of human beings' lives had been uprooted. They misplaced their organizations, their jobs, something. After which I notion you understand ants in all likelihood nicely. I for sure were in conditions where you felt like whether or not, whether it's on the battlefield or anything, that this become a combat that you in, which the chances were towards you. And in those moments there may be winners and losers, and you understand you constantly speak approximately mindset. What's the mindset that humans need in those moments where the chances do not appear to be, they are very a lot in their desire, from which you visible from the battlefield, where you've emerged successful because you failed to bask in victimhood or something, and also you does that make sense? It 100 makes feel for me it hasn't. It is about embracing alternate majority of human beings. They stay their life on autopilot, or they live in the void, I name it, where the whole thing round them is converting. The arena is constantly changing. The whole lot round us is continuously converting, whether it is you recognize, climate manage, whether or not it's you recognize within the way that we think, the manner that we're evolving, the manner that the arena is going, the way that animals are evolving, the way that the sea is encroaching, or you already know, reducing something. It may be the whole lot is changing around us, and we are designed to change with it. So what we're truly doing is we are absolutely going in opposition to the grain when we emerge as complacent, when we get at ease whilst we get into one sort of scenario, and we stay in that scenario. We're operating inside the contrary way that the arena have to be evolving. We must be continuously converting. We ought to be constantly evolving. We ought to be continuously shifting forward. You already know. Take a look at my profession. I have long passed from the military to the Marines to the Special Forces to the media to books to authors to literacy to business. It is like I am cons. I like love exchange. I like being put in a state of affairs wherein I'm actually chucked in the deep seas with dive boots on, and I ought to tread water. I like that due to the fact it is so hard, and it is so stimulating that you're forced to change. You are compelled to think of something distinct. You are compelled to do something in another way. You're forced to trade the manner that you use technique, something due to the fact you've been put in a scenario where it has been pressured upon you. However, whilst it's now not pressured upon you, when it's no longer forced upon which the arena does it forces it upon us, however whilst it is now not compelled upon you whilst you, when you get at ease, then you fall into this voyage, you fall into this complacency, you fall into now not transferring in conjunction with the sector, but is that those your demons again, because I am wondering the reason why Ant likes to be chucked into the water along with his dive boots on is due to the fact you relish undertaking, and this comes maybe hyperlinks to the victimhood factor and a widespread hassle in lifestyle and society in which humans like comfort cotton wool. Yeah, a lot of people are being introduced up now. With cottonwood not designed, we are no longer designed to be cozy, we're no longer designed to have cotton walls wrapped round us. It is society, it is the restraints and the shackles of society. This is forcing us to be like this. It's not who we're appearance, how some distance we have come. You already know appearance out, observe, have a look at simply through history how far we've got come, and I sense like that we're surely devolving now. I actually sense that we've got to a point in which we're going backwards, where you realize you was once survivor of the fitness. Yes, you may push a rock in front of your cave. You realize I imply to live to tell the tale you know was on. The you recognize the pinnacle of the food chain. You realize we're not designed to be comfortable. We are now not designed to be wrapped up in cotton wool. We are not designed to be shackled down, and that's why there may be such a lot of issues within the international right now, is because of those shackles, is due to these chains. It is because of the restraints that society is putting on us. It's forcing us into intellectual illness. It's forcing us to act in approaches that we're no longer designed to act in, is forcing us to switch off to the maximum effective device that the universe, it really is inside the universe. Your minds were compelled to simply put it on a dormant. You understand that we're going against the grain of what we are alleged to do, of who we're presupposed to be, on how we're speculated to act in the way alleged to evolve. So whilst you've got this going around like this, after which this stops, is it there may be a synchronicity. It truly is now not working in partnership with each different you recognize. Without us in the world, this planet wouldn't be as advanced, because it was without the planet, then we would not be developed as it was. You already know, and what is in reality happening is you've got these forces that are grinding towards every other rather than working collectively with each other in synchronicity. I become analyzing this crazy thing, the alternative day, and that I think I've talked about this perhaps as soon as before. However, it suggests that the lifestyles expectancy within the United Kingdom and the United States fell for 2 years in a row, and everything became like ultimate 12 months, the 12 months before anything for the first time ever, and that they have a look at the numbers as to why the lifestyles expectancy has fallen to the first time ever, and it's because of like the opioid crisis, individuals who are getting addicted to tablets, and then they are saying, why are humans getting increasingly hooked on drugs? And they say properly due to the fact they're missing that means of their life. And when human beings, like, that means that the science is displaying whether you do it to animals, you dispose of their meaning. I assume inside the ultimate podcast, and that I hate to repeat myself, but I also do not care approximately those rats, and that because they are right approximately my bucket, so inquisitive about it, they placed a rat in a cage and take everything from it, and they supply it the choice of consuming hair and water and ordinary water. It will become a drug addict. They then introduce a partner, some stimulation, some going for walks, wheels, some different matters, and they deliver it hair and water or ordinary water, and it would not choose the heroin water. It does not come to be a drug addict just through placing that means into its lifestyles. It avoids the heroin, and then you definitely suppose, okay, so what's occurring within the society? You say, well, people are lacking mission and meaning because we are trying to create a lifestyle perhaps wherein venture and which means are an awful thing. And then that is sincerely having an unfavorable impact, because as you are saying very eloquently, like it truly is no longer who we are. I like how you just placed that, Steve, because you've got just placed my mind into a systematic type of into scientific form due to the fact once more I'm not in mind, I'm not a bookworm. You realize it's like I've psychiatrists come up to me and pass, wherein did you simply observe and nicely, however, no longer truly what Brexit, and I'm like, no, this is all. Each unmarried little ounce of me is through existence revel, and I come from the college of existence. You know what I have simply said, there may be, it is unusual that, and that is why I like talking to humans like yourself, due to the fact I have put that as in how I'm wondering. I haven't examined whatever from, and you have simply placed it into an entire sort of medical, and it is like it is precisely that it's precisely what I have just stated, and you've got just placed it into something it really is been established, and it really is that's the manner that I think it is, the manner that it is the way that I understand existence. And it is funny because as you assert you're now not, you didn't see it, I'm now not an intellectual. However, I've sat here with intellectuals and they've stated the exact identical issue, like Johanna Hari. He wrote a book in this 9 Reasons Why People Are Getting Depressed and Aggravating Excellent Selling ebook. He sat here and he stated the exact identical thing. So after I hear it twice or 3 instances, after which I read it some other, I assume those are just fundamental truths. And while I get to that point wherein you've walked a unique walk of life to that mind who's wrote a book on it, but you've got both arrived on the identical place that is getting in my diary for all time. You realize that's exquisite, exciting as well. It's like you already know you, but you cannot remove that. You recognize you can't unwrite that as it's written inside. Evolution, it is written within the manner the world it has evolved. It is written in the way that we assume it is written in the organs, the muscle tissues, and the frame that we have. It is all here. It is all a gift right now. Yeah, it's now not in an ebook that we're going to study. It's going on right now. It is here. It's actual, this energy supply, which you are your strength source, wherein power resources is synchronized with the planet. That's one big strength supply. It is one huge ball. And I might have had a moment of readability on while I used to be filming. I've usually felt reference to the earth you recognize. I talk approximately, you already know we are able to climb to the very best peak of the apex of the arena. Mount Everest, we can climb to that because human beings said, yeah, but we've had to do this, and this with the intention to get there. You recognize operating towards the mountain. I am no longer recognize the manner that mountain is formed, as it is a foothold for you, it is an arm attained for you, that you are aware of it, that it's designed to paintings with you. So don't examine a mountain and burst off, am I able to move? Arise there, it's working towards me. No, it's that little stone there that you put your foot, it truly is assisting you up to face on its apex. It's assisting you up to face on its summit. And I've constantly felt a connection with the earth, continually, constantly, always. You recognize once I put my FT in it, when I positioned my hands in it, you understand I belong here, you understand. And I have this idea that humans assume, which you realize, that if you put the planet as a tree in which they suppose we're simply birds that come and sit at the tree, and I think we're just visitors after which, and then we move. We are now not where we're the leaves. Yeah, we are the leaves of the tree, I suggest. And then you recognize we grow in that we're a part of this evolution. It's non-secular. But yeah, I am not a religious person, but maybe you are, but perhaps your definition's incorrect due to the fact I published on my Instagram last week. Yeah, I did. So we've got just had. It is humorous. My Instagram submit actually says I've in no way notion of myself as a religious person, because I do not resonate with like the hippie stigma. Yeah, like I am no longer that man, but the cease, it is one tail proper, the cease of it become like I, if you define as feeling quite connected to the global, which I now do, then I now don't forget myself to be spiritual. This changed into just one tail, and this become like 3 days in the past due to the fact a number of people do ask if I'm spiritual, and that I constantly say no, but yeah, perhaps I'm. However, it's that concept of being, there's a you already know connection. There is one presently from the other, and while you understand we're the leaves, yeah, we are going to fall off, and there is going to be new leaves, you understand, but the whole lot recycles again into itself. Do you recognize when we don't simply all of a surprising go up into everything is going again into the earth? The whole lot virtually generally non-secular, due to the fact I went and Googled a definition of spirituality, and the definition I examined become like the feeling or notion that we are interconnected with the sector. The stigma is the problem. That's what alienates both people from announcing I'm a non-secular, because we're now not like hippies. We're not like, but where we adore. I really like that you recognize what I suggest. So, and I pass approximately going lower back to this moment in which I've wherein it simply resonates. You recognize, and the motive why I do all these things is I simply need to reconfirm that my manner of questioning is real, is authentic to me, is why I do this, and that's why I put myself in these awkward situations, as it gives a mild bulb moment where I'm going, do you understand what bloody hell you realize I am at the proper path, I am getting this right, and as I wait, I used to be away filming, and I felt this, you realize I used to be out in the mountains in Chile within the Andes, and I ought to simply sense the actual connection you recognize, like an actual presence, and it's just a cute, lovely feeling, and I'm able to simply take into account only a power connection. It becomes simply atypical that it came about an energy connection, and I used to be taking walks through. I was strolling plenty along of this mountain, and I used to be on foot alongside. I heard a massive, large bang, and I turned closer to the mountain, and I'm now not joking, it became likely about 300 meters away, so it is like you recognize in this little bit of rock, when it must have passed no phrase of a lie, within meters of me and a big one, because the mountains, it's in power source, they are bursting, they're actually like that, and the mountain from time to time, and it's the first time I experienced it. I heard approximately it, however I've never experienced it, and that I went bang, and it almost took my head off to the factor in which I was like a fitness become incoming, you realize. I changed into like after which I found out I was like nicely simply, and you see a little bit of mountain fall off through one bomb, and it is in which the energy of that mountain, and except you get out and about you spot it is. Like in that I idea to myself, wow, I bear in mind stopping and questioning. I felt that earlier than that, even no longer that specific second, however, I felt the power, so I felt the relationship there, after which that changed into it is almost as though the mountain become talking to me, going, what you feeling is proper, pay attention, we are pay attention, we're powerful, we've got a connection, without you there wouldn't be me, without me that wouldn't be you, and just that affirmation simply makes me realize, wow, this is powerful stuff. This is, you recognize, this is the way you ought to be feeling as soon as you are in track with yourself, after which and linked to this planet, then there's not a good deal that you're feeling which you cannot do there. Maybe no longer a whole lot that levels you in lifestyles. There's now not an awful lot that you might not try and obtain. There may be not a whole lot which you may not reap, and that I sense sorry, or due to the fact I can communicate about being in track with the planet, and being, you understand, being linked to Mother Earth, however, except you are in tune with that, then you definitely just suppose I am talking bollocks, you simply suppose what the hell is he on, approximately he's a few non-secular fool, blah 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 blah, so you realize that is the private life that I truly preserve to myself. I have spoken plenty about it today, which I've never spoken approximately before. However, this is who I am, I imply, so there may be so much greater in the back of what the media positioned out, and what the papers positioned out, and what you recognize the media agenda is on what they need you to be seen as, and there's this complete lifestyles behind me, that this is the real me, that is who I am. So whilst any of this different stuff, it's made up via other human beings that is available from no longer inside it, is so smooth for me just to battle, so easy for me simply pass bang bang bang. However, don't get me incorrect, once in a while I work tougher at it to batter off. Every so often it does stick, and you need to move all right, but it is any such releasing feeling, and I will constantly say to human beings, and that is my, you already know, discover who you're cross on that adventure, now not self-discovery, because that sounds spiritual, right? Cross on that adventure of locating your motive, of a laugh, of turning into the first-rate model of who you are due to the fact. When you begin that adventure, you will get addicted to it. It's far fascinating, and it will best serve you nicely. He will only serve you nicely, as it's a lifestyles I need to stay till I'm 150, due to the fact you assert I stay to until I am 50, 100 years isn't always lengthy sufficient. I nevertheless need greater. I need to know greater. I want to be on this journey for them for so long as I can be in this adventure. This is what gives me longevity. That is what offers me, because I want to be in this adventure for as long as I may be, and when I suppose the handiest setback is after I assume you realize I have got some other 50, 60 years of it form of saddens me. So I am hoping that by means of that stage, we able to can live to be a bit greater immortal, a chunk extra, a piece extra immortal. Oh, yeah, well listen, I assume that's an absolutely effective area to cease, and I suppose it's something that I will keep to factor out. I desire to mention thank you, though, due to the fact there are some humans which might have the courage in this point in time to be themselves and to speak their mind, and regrettably, it looks like a bit of a loss of life breed. However, you're one of those human beings, and having hung out with you earlier than we started out filming, and at some point of this conversation I were given to recognize I had the privilege of studying who you are a little bit, as you are saying, and this is a person that I do respect, one that evokes me and reminds me of the importance of following my more true self. So I simply desire to say thank you, thanks for having this communication nowadays, and thank you for being yourself. Keep your gentleman. Thank you. Thanks. Music foreign.